Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you are visiting with us or returning after a long absence, an especially warm welcome to you. We welcome you and the experience and perspective you bring with you. We are committed to a congregation which you can call home, in which you can grow and question and thrive. My name is Susan Usatine, and I am a member of the Music and Worship Committee, and am pleased to serve as your worship associate this morning. Our family began our UU journey 22 years ago. Our family joined this congregation in May of 2017 as a family of 5, as it was here that we found a liberal community that comes together in wonder and is also rooted in the practical and the here and now. 6 years later, we are ever proud of CUC's commitment to transforming life, a life that is hospitable to all people, especially those who have been defined as the other, systematically disempowered and oppressed or pushed to the margins. We welcome all with open hearts. Each week, we gather as a community of all ages. We believe our children and youth are an integral part of our community and the future of our faith tradition. We recognize that our bodies and minds and spirits require many ways of paying attention that differ from person to person, and we strive to support each other in creating a space that works for as many of us as possible. If you are visiting with us in person, please be sure to say hello to one of our welcome hosts, Carol and Bill Hoffman, Joseph Frick, and Edie Weil. If you might just raise your hand and wave. Terrific. Thank you all. If you're visiting us online, we invite you to sign our guest book by providing us with your name and contact information. The link to the guest book has been provided in the chat at the bottom of your screen. We are grateful for those of you contributing to today's service. First, you who choose to take this hour from your day to be in fellowship with us. We embrace you, those who have been with us for many years and those who are here today for the first time, those who are seated here in Paramus, and those watching near and far. This Sunday, ministers in New Jersey exchange pulpits to preach in sister congregations. Reverend Andre is preaching in Montclair, and with us today is the Reverend Dr. Tracy Sprowls. Reverend Sprowls is the transition minister at the UU Fellowship of Center County in State College, Pennsylvania. This is her 24th year serving UU congregations as minister. In addition to her work in Center County, Tracy is a writer with several published articles and several unfinished novels. She loves reading and knitting, writing, riding her bike, yoga, and the beach. She lives in Summit, New Jersey, with her husband, David, and their 2 dogs, Jova and Macy. Tracy and David have 3 grown children and 1 grandchild. Today, Dr. Sprowls' topic on this anniversary of Roe versus Wade: where are we now and where are we going? While this issue has been made a political one, we look at bodily autonomy and reproductive health as a justice issue this morning. Our music this morning is provided by our music director, Matt Anderson, and our audio-visual directors this morning are Phil and Allison Sosinski, John Freund, and we do want to thank this morning Jean Wandelmeyer, who has provided us with the beautiful roses in front of me in memory of Rose Wandelmeyer. We invite you to stay after service for conversation and connection in this same space. And I do have a few announcements this morning. Starting next Sunday, February 5th, Reverend Andre will be hosting a monthly current events forum. Oh, before I tell you that, did I say John Freund before? Because if I didn't, I did. Okay, I have a special note here. Do not forget John Freund. Sorry. Have to restart there. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So starting next Sunday, February 5th, Reverend Andre will be hosting a monthly current event forum here in the sanctuary after service. During these Sundays, we will set aside time to discuss world events, national events, community events, and events happening within Unitarian Universalism. Next week's forum will focus on recent events within the UUA, specifically the Article 2 Study Commission, which has been charged with reviewing and revising the portions of the UUA bylaws, which contain our principles and sources. Our service next week will focus on this topic, and the forum afterwards will be an opportunity for deeper discussion. Second, this coming Wednesday, February 1st, Reverend Andre and the pastoral care team are hosting our monthly soup lunch at noon in the assembly room. All are welcome to join for this time of discussion, connection, and a meal of homemade soup. Please note there was a mistake on the date in this week's newsletter. The soup lunch is this coming Wednesday, February 1st at noon. I would now like to invite Claire and Quinlan Kraft to the podium as they have an announcement concerning the food drive.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Quinlan Kraft, and I'm excited to say that this year we're hosting another February food and money donation drive for the Center for Food Action. We did one of these last year, and it was a big success. We donated $1,200 and 25 bags of food to the Center for Food Action. Yeah. And this year, we're only hoping to have more success. We'll be available the next 4 Sundays before and after service to collect donations and food in person in the hallway over there. So if you have any questions, please see me or my little sister Clara after service. Thank you for your continued support.
I don't see. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here with you this morning. So happy. I want to greet everybody by hand, by person, but I can't, so I'm going to invite you to turn and greet each other. And yeah, just say hello. Good morning.
Good morning again. Sorry, my
Thanks
cold
for
hands,
being
chronically cold
Yeah,
hands.
there's no.
Let's see. Oh, here
there
it
it
is. Beautiful. I had a feeling it would be rolling around here somewhere.
Do you just. Okay. Hi. And maybe before we have a centering moment, I invite you to just raise your hands and just say hello to those Zoom folks out there. And I hope Zoom folks will write in the chat or however they're able to greet each other and them, you guys. Okay. Our centering moment, I want to tell you about it before I start, is to bring us into this moment together, this time of worship, this time of body awareness. So we're going to start with a centering practice that focuses on the body by Lisa Bovey-Kemper. You're welcome to stay in your seats or stand however you are comfortable. So touch your hand to your forehead if it feels natural to you. May you be blessed with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. May your intellect take you far on your life's journey. May you be blessed with reason and free will. It is your call every day to use these gifts. And your throat. May you be blessed with voice. May you learn the complex nature of truth-telling. The ability to speak the truth in love is something that requires honesty, empathy, and care. You are challenged every day to seek the joy that comes with sharing your truth compassionately, as well as listening to others. And your heart. May your heart be full and blessed with love. May you know the agony of heartbreak as it is intertwined with the elation of true love. Your heart is a strong and resilient organ, one that will be with you until the end of your time on earth. May you heed the wisdom of your heart and always trust the truth it tells. And your belly. You are blessed with the gift of sexuality. May you always remember that you are a beloved child of God. Your body is sacred and belongs to you alone. May you live into the full expression of your identity as a human being, embracing your true sexual and gender identity. The gift of sexuality brings with it many rewards as well as great responsibility. May you always retain power over your own being, striving toward mutually fulfilling and just relationship. And your hands. When you were a baby, your tiny hands were your first contact with the world. Before you could see more than a few feet in front of your face, you grasped the finger of your loved ones. You catch yourself with your hands when you fall. You express love and comfort to others with them too. May your hands be gentle and strong. May you use them to carry light into the darkness and rest to the weary. And may your hands always find the place of greatest need, beginning with your own. And may the Creator of all things hold you in the palm of her hand wherever you go. And finally, wrap your arms around your body. Give yourself a good squeeze and hug. May you be blessed on this, your life's journey. May you remember that growth happens on the journey and that you are never alone. May you always remember that you are a whole person and that each of these parts work together. We offer our blessings upon you, mind, body, and spirit. May you be guided by compassion and truth, justice and love. And may you find rest on life's journey, always remembering where you came from being mindful that your ancestors are there behind you, whether they're present on earth or have gone back to the soul of the world. May you be blessed in all things and carry blessings wherever you go. Thank you.
Now I hope you will join us in speaking the chalice lighting words that are in your order of service or on the screen behind me. We light this chalice to remind us of our dreams, to nourish our heart, mind, and spirit, to work towards a better world for all, to embrace the whole of our human experience, to honor our past and our gifts of the present, to create a community where each of us may find healing, transformation, and hope. Now, if you so choose to please rise or remain in your seats to sing hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul.
It's telling me
Our offertory words this week are entitled "We Give" from Kristen Collins. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. If you would join me in speaking our dedication words. We dedicate these gifts in service of our mission to welcome all into a home of spiritual diversity that challenges us to become our best selves, to minister to one another in love, and to serve the greater community.
Before we begin our time of sharing, I'd like us to center again ourselves and to close our eyes and to sit into some silence as we remember Tyree Nichols, who was killed this week in Memphis by 5 police officers. And we remember all of those who died in mass shootings in the past 10 days. And we know that these are part of our society, and we like to just forget that these are things that happen. But they happen in the midst of a bigger context of oppression and violence towards the other, just not here, but around the world. So we sit in silence. We remember not only the loss, but the lives.
As we come out of that moment of silence, let us continue in this meditative space with a reading entitled Breath Meditation by Samuel Trumbore. Let us turn inward now and feel the rhythm of the breath. In and out, in and out. Find the peace of just being with the flow of the breath, letting go of yesterday and tomorrow. Feel the restorative power of the peace of this moment, a peace large enough to open to the concerns and sorrows that trouble us, a stillness quiet enough to respond to the joys and celebrations that enliven us. There is safety here in the rhythm of the breath. The ebb and flow of life is enacted with each one, taking in the fullness of experience. Cultivate inner peace and inner safety in this moment. This is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. Our joys are amplified, our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of this community. May we remember those who have spoken, those who they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts. Let us remain seated and sing together number 123, Spirit of Life. This morning, I'm honored to share the words of Reverend Joan Javier Duval, the minister from the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, Vermont, adapted from remarks made at the Vermont Reproductive Freedom Speak Out in May of 2019. This piece is entitled Freedom to Flourish. I am here as someone who exists in a body that conceived a pregnancy. I am here as someone who exists in a body that conceived and by luck and grace and good fortune carried a pregnancy to full term. I am here as someone who exists in a body that conceived and carried a pregnancy to full term that was delivered by C-section, and that beautiful baby made me a mother. I am here as someone who exists in a body that conceived and carried another pregnancy. That pregnancy, though, after 8 weeks, by the mysterious workings of the human body, stopped growing, and I did not carry that embryo through development. Instead, by luck and grace of living where I do, I was able to use my own sacred conscience, the consultation of my doctor and spouse, and the stirrings of my own heart to make the painful decision to have that miscarried pregnancy removed from my body. How grateful I am that I had that choice, as heartbreaking as it was to make. As a Unitarian Universalist minister, my faith loudly declares that life is sacred and that all people, including and especially those whose bodies can carry pregnancies, have sacred and holy agency and sovereignty over their bodies. My faith, and I know other faith traditions do as well, loudly declares that all people have the inherent right to make ethical and moral decisions about their bodies, as painful as those decisions are at times. I believe, and my faith asserts, that the direct personal experience of our own lives is a sacred source of authority in choosing our own path and future. To use religious dogma that proclaims the sanctity of life as a guise for restricting personal agency and legislating other people's bodies is bad theology. It is bad theology to claim a concern for the sanctity of life on the one hand, while ignoring children dying at the border, trans women murdered in the streets, the continued defunding of public education, and fossil fuel-induced ecological catastrophe on the other. We all want freedom, the freedom to live and love without fear or condemnation, the freedom to be well and whole in body, mind, and spirit, the freedom to flourish in the brief but grace-filled lives we are so blessed to have on this precious earth. Our reproductive freedom is a necessary part of the wellness and flourishing that we all desire and that we all deserve.
Thank you. So I'd like to start out this morning with just a few moments of quiet reflection. So settle in and take a few breaths. I'll ask you 2 questions, and I'll ask you just to think on these for a bit. No one has to answer. It's just a moment of personal reflection. So what are some of the norms you have learned about sex, sexuality, gender, and your body? And where did you learn these from? And how conscious have you been about these norms, and do you still hold them? So let's just think on those for a minute. What norms do you know, and where did you learn them? And how conscious are you of them, and do you still hold them? So some of the norms you may have heard from your faith community or your family, popular culture, the media, your school, maybe the people in your life, your family. Here are some of them. Thinner is better. It's healthier and more attractive. It's not normal for girls to like girls or boys to like boys. God made Adam and Eve, after all, not Adam and Steve. What was she wearing? If you pleasure yourself, you will go blind. The purpose of sex is procreation. You were made in the image and likeness of God. Your body is a temple. Make sure that the clothes you are wearing are not a temptation to the boys. Menstruation is dirty, or should never be talked about in public, and definitely not from a pulpit. You don't have sex before you marry, and you only have sex with that one person your whole life. Fat girls shouldn't wear bikinis. Girls that wear a lot of makeup are promiscuous. There are only two genders. Girls can't do XYZ, and boys can't do XYZ. Are these any norms that are familiar to you, that some of them you may still carry? I'm sure if we were to talk about this, you each would be able to add this list. You'd be able to add to the list, and we could have a really good conversation about how these norms came to be established in our minds and in our culture. What might be interesting to know is how these norms have shifted for you over the years, and which have stayed in the back of your minds, or maybe in your active thinking, despite your firm belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I still find myself sometimes, particularly at the beach, thinking of certain norms, and I would never wear a bikini at the beach at the age of 58 and this. So there are a lot of norms we still fight against and carry, right? So as an aside, before I continue, I wanted to let you know, I know there's a lot going on here, but there's a reproductive justice and course called Sacred that I'll be leading on Zoom for the next 7 Sundays starting next week, next Sunday. And this kind of question, this review of our norms and where they come from, is one of the exercises that we would do together. So if you're interested in doing this on Zoom and join my congregation in State College, just let me know and I'll get you connected to that. So I too was raised with a certain idea about my body, certain ideas about my sexuality, my gender, and my identity. But as much as my parents were pleased to have a baby girl, they were also not so pleased that I was born a feminist, born with the t-shirt woman power as I came out of the womb with my arm up in the air. My mother will tell you that that's true. How did she get this feminist child? And others, so I've fought against some norms my whole life, and others I have, met different kinds of people. I've had different kinds of experiences. My maturity and my understanding have helped me make that circle wider and wider. But some norms, like I said, I still find myself repeating. And I'm still learning. I love the adventure of life that we're still always learning, and I'll share more about that later. Being a Unitarian Universalist has expanded my experiences and my mind and my heart, and so I've come to believe what is written on the Unitarian Universalist website. Decisions about children, families, and sexuality are some of life's most profound. Our Unitarian Universalist faith holds central the inherent worth and dignity of all people, which includes a belief in the sacredness of our bodies and the importance of self-determination and human agency. As part of a liberatory reproductive justice movement, we affirm our commitment to building a world in which all people are able to make choices about their bodies, their health, and their families within safe, thriving communities. So if I look around, I think there are some of you who might be nodding and agreeing with that statement that you can, yes, thank you, okay. In case you're curious, though, these are not new ideas for our faith tradition. If you've been around a while, you might know that over the years, our delegates at the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, our big business meeting, have passed 10 resolutions in support of reproductive justice over the years. Many of our ancestors were suffragists and worked for years to get the right to vote for white women. We had many abolitionists to free the bodies of Black people. Many people have marched on Washington in support of a woman's right to choose over the years, and they continue to do so. My first march as an activist was the March for Women's Lives in 1986, when I was in my early 20s. I recently learned in a sermon by Reverend Darcy Baxter that the Roe v. Wade, that statement, that fight itself was forged in the chapel of the First Unitarian Church in Dallas, Texas. Didn't know that. The Supreme case, Obergefell and Hodges, that made marriage equality the law of the land, involved Unitarian Universalists, and some of you were involved here in New Jersey, making marriage equality the law of New Jersey. And the Unitarian Universalists were involved with the Ask, Don't Tell policy that ended in the United States military. I know, too, that many Unitarian Universalists are on the front lines in support of trans children and gender equity. And I know lots of women here and around our state were in the Women's March in January 2017. Were you at the Women's March? In body or spirit? We have a long history as Unitarian Universalists in supporting the belief in the sacredness of all bodies and the importance of self-determination and human agency. Now, I know this sounds a bit triumphalist, but I don't mean for it to. I just merely mention these examples to show we have a long, long history in this area of justice, and we continue to do good work. And we are learning and we are shifting and growing as we go more inclusive and even more supportive of people who are differently abled, neurodivergent, living with ADHD or a mental illness, and more. Very active. Last June, when the Dobbs versus Jackson decision was officially released, people gathered all over the country to protest and express their outrage at this decision. And people from all over the country poured into the streets to put their support out for that decision as well, as you may know. I know I don't need to remind you that we have a very divided country. But yet most people do support the right for a woman to choose and for her reproductive choice, health. We had a rally in State College where I work as the interim minister, and I was there and several other people from the congregation were there. And at their urging, I hadn't planned on it, but I did speak in support of the right for women to choose. But then I shifted to encouraging education about our bodies and sexuality through our Whole Lives program. Education empowers, I said. Now more than ever, children and teens and adults need to take charge of their decisions by being educated to make those decisions. Our director of lifespan religious education, Ashley Hamlin, at State College, she opened the enrollment for OWL to the community and worked with 4 other congregations to coordinate that yearly program. And we had 37 young people in OWL this year. 3 were Unitarian Universalists. So that was a victory for us, I think. Thank you. Education is critical, there is no doubt about it, and showing up at protests and rallies is really important too. I believe in that. Being willing to serve is also important, and so that's why I volunteer to be an escort and a driver for women arriving in New Jersey for reproductive health care. But I'm still very clear in my mind that every woman has the right to make a choice about having a baby or not. It is a woman's right to make this decision because it affects her life and her ability to live her life the way she chooses. And yet, I'm learning as I go, right? I mentioned that. So sometimes, You know how you know something, but you forget, and you say the wrong pronoun, or you do the wrong thing, but you know inside, you already know the truth there. Has that happened to you? Yeah. So with the Dobbs decision, at the time, I turned to people in my congregation, I turned to my parents, and I'm like, I will fight to the end to protect my nieces and other women in need. I will do that. Every woman has the right to choose. You call me, I will drive you to the clinic, right? Like, I was almost militant about that, but I forgot something. And that was that the Dobbs decision is more than about the right for women to make their reproductive choices. As Reverend Darcy Baxter writes, reproductive justice emphasizes that everything is connected and insists that people refuse to isolate or pit important social issues against each other. Instead, reproductive justice advances human rights across the interdependent web of social justice issues. As the advocacy group Forward Together puts it, their Strong Families initiative, reproductive justice, calls on us to work towards a world where every person and family has the rights, recognition, and resources they need to make those decisions about their gender, their bodies, and their sexuality, where every person, family, and community has what they need to flourish. She goes on to say that while it has been critical for women to access abortions, abortion became a symbol of liberation and freedom for white women. So while some women needed this kind of support in dealing with complicated or unintended pregnancies, many other women simply needed support in having children, in having good medical care, in raising those children, and getting them educated and keeping them safe. They needed resources so that their families could flourish. Many of us will need one kind of support at some point in our lives and need other kinds of support at different points in our lives. We need many symbols and methods of liberation. We need a whole lot of ways to be free and flourishing. We need so many kinds of love, she says. So we have learning and unlearning to do. Unlearning the norms about our bodies, our sexuality, gender, and sex. Learning that every body, no matter the shape or size or ability or race, has inherent worth and dignity. Learning that my right to an abortion, to liberation and freedom is inextricably connected to every other person's ability to have children or not, and to raise them with all the resources necessary. And another learning, too. Do we genuinely want to shift our communities and our culture from the dominant paradigm that is a culture that centers political individual rights to that of the beloved community? Do we want to make that shift? When we make that shift, we let go of the political position that abortion rights are human rights, my right, my choice. And we shift to the ethical understanding that in a healthy culture, a beloved community, every person is honored for who they are and has the access to everything they need to flourish. Now, Unitarian Universalists spend a lot of time in our heads. I do too. And in my congregation, the worship leaders and I have tried to help us create more authentic and genuine relationships with our bodies and with each other through movement and one-on-one conversations during worship, like how we started out this morning with the body touching our throats and our bellies. We do movement and one-on-one conversations. We sign the chalice lighting, and we do embodied prayer. We want everyone to know that their bodies, this is the place of inherent worth and dignity. And if you don't know the inherent worth and dignity of your own body, how can you know it for other people? Becoming connected to our bodies helps with that, and it helps with understanding that we are all connected. We can't know we are connected until we are embodied and connected to our own bodies. In the words of Reverend Karen G. Johnston, This morning, I ask that you pledge yourselves, the whole of yourselves, your whole body, to the great collective liberation of all bodies. And let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to do all that we can to protect against gendered violence against all bodies, known and unknown, near and far, and stranger or friend. Let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to inhabit these beautiful bodies that we live in, to honor these bodies, to celebrate these bodies, to defend these bodies. So be it. See to it. Amen. Our last hymn is on the screen. Thank you. You were going to save me. Number 1053. We're going to sing it 3 times. The first time you're going to sing it, we're all going to sing it together. So if you are willing and able, please rise and we'll sing the song together. To invite you to do the challenging thing and turn to a neighbor and sing the song again, the hymn again. And finally, close your eyes and sing to yourself. Sing out loud. Sing to yourself. Thank you. Please be seated.
In a moment, we will extinguish our chalice. Our closing words this morning are from Eric Williams. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. If you would, speak the chalice extinguishing words with us. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not our promise to each other, to act with grace, to hold each other in love, to serve this community and our world. This promise of the heart serves as a reminder of how we live together. May it bring joy to our collective lives.
Listen and learn from those lives different than your own. Passionately speak for justice on behalf of all, so that all can live in health and wholeness, peace and justice and love. Blessings for this, our life's journey. Amen. And go in peace.